Nothing says marriage is sacred, like your wife's ex-boyfriend moving into your guest room. That's exactly what happened to me 3 months ago, and I'm still trying to figure out how I became the villain in my own house. My name is Rick Mallard, and I'm 41 years old. I work as an IT consultant for small businesses around town. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps food on the table. I've been married to Anna for 18 years, and we have 2 kids. Molly, who's 16 and has inherited my sarcastic sense of humor, and Jacob, 13, who spends most of his time gaming but notices everything that goes on around here. Anna works in human resources at the local hospital. She's beautiful, always has been, but lately she's been restless. I should have seen the warning signs when she started talking about finding herself and reconnecting with old friends on social media. That's how Tony Russo entered our lives. Tony was Anna's high school boyfriend, the guy she dated before we met in college. According to Anna, he was going through a rough patch. His apartment lease had fallen through, he was between jobs, and he needed somewhere to stay just temporarily while he got back on his feet. "Rick, he's desperate," Anna said one evening as we sat in our living room. She was scrolling through her phone, probably reading another sob story text from Tony. "He's been sleeping in his car for 3 days. "That's unfortunate," I replied, not looking up from my laptop where I was working on a client's network security. "There are plenty of motels in town. Those cost money he doesn't have." Anna's voice had that edge to it that meant she'd already made up her mind. "We have a perfectly good guest room that nobody's using." I looked up then, really looked at her. She was wearing makeup even though we weren't going anywhere, and she'd changed into a nicer shirt after dinner. "Anna, you want your ex-boyfriend to move in with us?" "It's not like that," she said quickly, but her cheeks flushed. "It's just helping out a friend who's in trouble. You'd do the same thing for Dave if he needed help." Dave was my best friend from work, and she was right. I probably would help him out. But Dave wasn't my ex-boyfriend, and he wouldn't spend the whole time trying to prove he was better than Anna's husband. "How long is temporarily?" I asked. "Just a few weeks, maybe a month at most, until he finds a new place." I should have said no right then. I should have trusted my instincts and told her that inviting an ex into our home was a terrible idea. Instead, I made the mistake that would nearly destroy my family. "Fine," I said, "but he pays rent, he helps with household expenses, and he follows our rules." Anna's face lit up like I'd just given her the best gift in the world. "Thank you, Rick. You won't regret this." Famous last words. Tony moved in the next day. He showed up in a beat-up Honda Civic with everything he owned stuffed into garbage bags and cardboard boxes. I was at work when he arrived, but Molly texted me a picture with the caption, "Mom's friend is here. He looks like he works out. A lot." When I got home that evening, I found Tony in my kitchen, shirtless, cooking dinner. He was tall, probably 6'2", with the kind of muscled build that comes from spending serious time at the gym. His dark hair was perfectly styled despite supposedly being homeless, and he was wearing cologne that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. "Rick!" he called out when he saw me, like we were old friends. "Anna's told me so much about you. I'm Tony." He extended a hand, and I shook it, noting his firm grip and the way he held eye contact just a little too long. This was a man who was used to being the alpha in every situation. "Welcome to our home," I said, emphasizing the word our. "Thanks, man. I really appreciate you letting me crash here. Anna's amazing for setting this up." He turned back to the stove where he was making what looked like an elaborate pasta dish. "Hope you don't mind. I picked up some groceries and thought I'd cook dinner for everyone. It's the least I can do." Anna walked into the kitchen at that moment, and I watched her eyes go straight to Tony's bare chest. She was staring, and she wasn't being subtle about it. "Smells wonderful," she said, her voice slightly breathless. "Rick, isn't this nice? Tony's making his famous Alfredo." "His famous Alfredo," I repeated. "In our kitchen, while shirtless." Tony laughed, a deep, confident sound. "Sorry about that. I'm a messy cook. Didn't want to ruin my shirt." He gestured to his chest like it was perfectly normal to cook half naked in someone else's house. Dinner was awkward. Tony dominated the conversation, telling stories about his travels, his various jobs, his adventures. Anna hung on every word, laughing at jokes that weren't particularly funny and asking follow-up questions like she was interviewing him for a magazine article. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Remember that time in high school when we drove to the beach at midnight?" Tony said, looking directly at Anna. "You were so worried your parents would find out." "I can't believe you remember that," Anna giggled. Actually giggled, like a teenager. "I remember everything about those days," Tony replied, his voice dropping to something that sounded almost intimate. I cleared my throat. "So, Tony, what kind of work are you looking for?" "Oh, keeping my options open. I've done sales, some construction, worked at a gym for a while. I'm not in any rush to settle for something that's not a good fit." Translation: he wasn't looking for work at all. After dinner, Tony insisted on cleaning up, even though Anna protested that he was our guest. I watched from the living room as they worked together in the kitchen, Anna washing dishes while Tony dried them. They were standing closer than necessary, and Anna kept finding excuses to touch his arm or bump into him playfully. "Dad," Molly said, settling onto the couch next to me, "this is weird, right? Like, really weird?" "What do you mean?" I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. "Mom's acting like she's 16 again. And that guy? He's trying way too hard to be charming." My daughter was more perceptive than I'd given her credit for. "He's just being friendly." "Dad, he's walking around shirtless and making Mom giggle. That's not friendly. That's flirting." Before I could respond, Anna and Tony came into the living room. Anna had changed into yoga pants and a fitted t-shirt, not her usual after-dinner attire. "We thought we'd watch a movie," Anna announced. "Tony hasn't seen any of the Marvel films. Can you believe it?" "Shocking," I said dryly. They settled onto the couch together, Anna curling up next to Tony in a way that made my stomach clench. I tried to focus on the movie, but I kept noticing little things. The way Anna laughed at Tony's comments, how she kept glancing at him during the action scenes, the way he casually draped his arm across the back of the couch behind her. When the movie ended, Anna stretched and yawned. "I should head to bed. Tony, let me show you where the extra towels are." They disappeared upstairs together, and I heard them talking in low voices in the hallway outside our bedroom. Their conversation went on for at least 10 minutes, punctuated by Anna's soft laughter. That night, as Anna and I lay in bed, I tried to bring up my concerns. "Don't you think Tony's a little too comfortable here?" I asked. "What do you mean?" Anna was facing away from me, her voice muffled by her pillow. "He's been here one day and he's already cooking shirtless in our kitchen and cuddling with you on our couch." Anna rolled over to face me, and even in the dark I could see her frown. "Rick, you're being ridiculous. He cooked us dinner, which was incredibly thoughtful, and we weren't cuddling, we were just watching a movie." "Anna." "He's going through a really hard time right now. The least we can do is make him feel welcome instead of treating him like some kind of threat." "I never said he was a threat." "You didn't have to. It's written all over your face." Anna turned away again. "Just give him a chance, okay? He's actually a really good guy." I lay there in the dark, listening to Anna's breathing as she fell asleep, and wondered how I'd already become the bad guy in this situation. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of laughter coming from downstairs. When I got to the kitchen, I found Tony and Anna making breakfast together. Tony was wearing jeans and a tight-fitting t-shirt that showed off his physique, and Anna was wearing a sundress I hadn't seen in months. "Morning, Rick," Tony called out cheerfully. "Hope you're hungry. We made pancakes, eggs, bacon, the works." "We?" I looked at Anna, who was beaming like she'd just won the lottery. "Tony's an amazing cook," she said. "He used to work at a restaurant." "I thought you said you worked construction and sales." "I've done a lot of things," Tony replied smoothly. "Restaurant work was just one of them. You pick up skills everywhere you go." I poured myself coffee and sat down at the kitchen table watching as Tony and Anna moved around each other with an ease that should have taken weeks to develop. When Tony needed a spatula, Anna handed it to him without being asked. When Anna reached for plates, Tony was already getting them down from the cabinet. "You two seem to have this figured out," I observed. "We always did work well together," Tony said, catching Anna's eye. She blushed and looked away, but she was smiling. After breakfast, I went upstairs to get ready for work. When I came back down, I found Tony in my home office, setting up what looked like a gaming computer. "What's all this?" I asked. "Oh, hope you don't mind. Anna said I could use this room to set up my computer. I do some freelance work online and I need a quiet space." "My office." He was taking over my office. "Anna said that?" "Yeah, she mentioned you hardly ever use this room anyway." That wasn't true. I used my office several times a week, but apparently Anna had decided I didn't need it anymore. "I'll try to stay out of your way," Tony continued, connecting cables and arranging his equipment on my desk. "This is a nice setup you have here. Good internet speed?" "It's fine," I said through gritted teeth. "Great. I should be able to get a lot done." I found Anna in the laundry room folding clothes. "You gave Tony my office?" "Rick, you barely use that room, and he needs somewhere to work." "I use that room all the time for client work." "You can use the laptop anywhere in the house. Tony needs a dedicated space for his computer setup." His computer setup that he somehow managed to afford despite being homeless? Anna's hands stilled on the shirt she was folding. He saved up for that equipment. It's how he makes money. Doing what, exactly? "I don't know, some kind of online consulting." Anna's voice was getting defensive again. "The point is, he's trying to get back on his feet, and we should be supportive." I left for work, feeling like a stranger in my own house. When I came home that evening, I found Tony in the living room with Jacob, playing video games on our big screen TV. They were both laughing and trash-talking each other like old friends. "Hey, Rick," Tony called out without taking his eyes off the screen. "Your son's got some serious skills. He's been kicking my butt at this game for an hour." Jacob was grinning from ear to ear. "Tony's pretty good, too. He knows all the advanced moves." Anna was in the kitchen again, but this time she was making something elaborate, not our usual weeknight fare. She'd changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a low-cut sweater that I'd bought her for Christmas, but she'd never worn. "Special occasion?" I asked. "Tony mentioned he loves lasagna, so I thought I'd make one." "You're making lasagna for Tony." "I'm making lasagna for our family. Tony just happens to be staying with us." But she'd never made lasagna, just because I mentioned liking it. During dinner, Tony regaled us with more stories from his past. He'd apparently lived in 6 different states, worked dozens of different jobs, and had adventures that sounded like they came from a movie script. "You should write a book," Anna said, her eyes shining with admiration. "Maybe someday," Tony replied. "Right now I'm just focused on figuring out what's next." "What kind of work are you actually looking for?" I asked again. Like I said, keeping my options open. No point in rushing into something that's not right, you know? After dinner, Anna suggested they take a walk around the neighborhood to show Tony the area. They were gone for over an hour, and when they came back, Anna's cheeks were flushed, and she seemed energized in a way I hadn't seen in years. That night, I lay in bed listening to Anna shower and wondered when my wife had started putting on makeup to go for walks with house guests. By the end of the first week, Tony had completely integrated himself into our household routine. He was up early making coffee, He commandeered the kitchen for elaborate meals. He'd taken over my office entirely, and he spent his evenings either working out in our garage or hanging out with Anna and the kids. Anna was a different person around him. She laughed more, dressed better, and seemed to have more energy than she'd had in months. She also started staying up later, often sitting on the porch with Tony, talking in low voices that carried through our bedroom window. "Dad," Molly said one morning as we drove to school, "are you okay with all this?" "All what?" "Come on, Dad. Mom's acting like she's dating this guy. It's gross." "Your mother is just being a good hostess." "A good hostess doesn't stare at the guest's abs while he's making breakfast." I nearly choked on my coffee. "She doesn't—" "Dad, I have eyes. So does Jacob. We're not stupid." That afternoon, I came home early from work and found the house empty except for voices coming from upstairs. I climbed the stairs quietly and heard Anna and Tony talking in the guest room. "I can't believe how much you've changed," Anna was saying. "You're so much more confident now." "Prison will do that to you," Tony replied, and I froze on the stairs. Prison? Anna hadn't mentioned anything about Tony being in prison. "How long were you in for?" Anna asked. 3 years. Got out 8 months ago. Still adjusting to life on the outside, you know? "What were you in for?" There was a pause, then Tony's voice, lower now. "Assault. Got into a fight with some guy who was hitting on my girlfriend. Turned out he had connections, and I didn't." My blood ran cold. Anna had invited a convicted felon into our house, around our children, and she hadn't bothered to mention this minor detail. "I'm not that guy anymore," Tony continued. "Prison taught me to control my temper, but it also taught me to go after what I want." "What do you want?" Anna's voice was barely a whisper. "I think you know." I couldn't hear Anna's response, but I heard the sound of movement, like someone sitting down on the bed. I backed down the stairs as quietly as I could and left the house, my hands shaking with rage. That evening, I confronted Anna about Tony's criminal history while he was out at the gym. "You knew he'd been in prison?" Anna's face went pale. "He told you today. I heard you talking." Anna sat down heavily on our bed. "Rick, I had no idea. He never mentioned it before." "And that doesn't concern you? That he lied about his background?" "He didn't lie. He just didn't volunteer the information. Can you blame him? People judge." "Anna, he was in prison for assault. He's living in our house with our children. He said he's changed. Prison reformed him." "Prison reformed him?" I stared at my wife in disbelief. "Anna, listen to yourself. You're defending a convicted felon who's been lying to us." "He wasn't lying. He was just—" "What else don't we know about him? What else hasn't he volunteered?" Anna was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "Maybe I should talk to him. Maybe you should ask him to leave. Rick, he has nowhere else to go. That's not our problem. How can you be so heartless?" And somehow, once again, I was the villain. The next morning, I watched Anna and Tony have what looked like a serious conversation in the kitchen. Whatever she said to him, it didn't result in him packing his bags. Instead, he seemed more determined than ever to prove himself. He started doing household repairs without being asked, fixing a leaky faucet and replacing a broken light fixture. He organized the garage and cleaned out the gutters. He was making himself indispensable, and Anna was eating it up. "Isn't it wonderful having someone handy around the house?" she said that evening as we watched Tony install a new ceiling fan in the living room. "I can install ceiling fans," I said. "I know, honey, but you're always so busy with work. Tony has time." Tony, who was supposedly looking for a job but spent his days working out, playing games with Jacob, and doing projects around our house. That weekend, Anna's parents came for their monthly dinner visit. I was curious to see how they'd react to Tony, but Anna had coached him well. He was polite, respectful, and charming without being overly familiar. So you're looking for work in the area? Anna's father, George, asked. Yes, sir. Taking my time to find the right opportunity. Anna and Rick have been incredibly generous letting me stay here while I get situated. What kind of work do you do? I'm versatile, Tony replied smoothly. Sales, construction, some computer work. I believe in adapting to whatever opportunities present themselves. Anna's mother, Patricia, seemed charmed by him. It's so nice that Anna has reconnected with an old friend. You two were quite the couple in high school, weren't you? Anna blushed. Mom, that was a long time ago. Oh, I remember, Patricia continued. You were heartbroken when he moved away. Cried for weeks. Tony smiled at Anna. I was pretty torn up about it, too. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed. The look that passed between them made my stomach turn. After dinner, Tony offered to help clean up, and Anna's parents were impressed by his thoughtfulness. I found myself relegated to the living room while Tony charmed my in-laws in the kitchen. He seems like a nice young man, Patricia said to me later. Very helpful. He's staying here temporarily, I said, emphasizing the word temporary. Of course, but it's lovely that you and Anna are in a position to help an old friend. When Anna's parents left, Patricia hugged Tony goodbye like he was part of the family. That night, I tried again to talk to Anna about setting a deadline for Tony's departure. It's been 2 weeks, I said. You said a few weeks at most. He's still looking for the right opportunity. Anna, he's not looking for anything. He's settling in here like he plans to stay forever. That's not true. He's been very proactive about his job search. Really? What jobs has he applied for? Anna was quiet. He's using you, I said. He's got a free place to stay, free food, someone to do his laundry, and he doesn't have to work. Why would he leave? You don't know him like I do. You're right. I don't know him at all. Neither do you. You knew him 20 years ago. People change. Yes, they do, and maybe not always for the better. I realized she wasn't talking about Tony. The 3rd week brought a new development that made my blood boil. I came home from work to find Tony answering our front door like he lived there. Our neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, was dropping off a package that had been delivered to her house by mistake. Thank you so much, Tony said, taking the package. Anna will be so grateful. Are you the new tenant? Mrs. Henderson asked, clearly fishing for information. Just staying here temporarily while I get settled in the area. Rick and Anna have been incredibly welcoming. After Mrs. Henderson left, I confronted Tony about answering our door. Sorry, man. Anna was upstairs and didn't hear the doorbell. I was just trying to help. I'd prefer if you let us answer our own door. Of course, no problem. But the damage was done. By the next day, I could tell the neighborhood gossip network was buzzing. Mrs. Henderson had obviously spread the word about the mysterious man living at the Mallard house. I got confirmation of this when my neighbor Dave stopped by that evening. Hey, Rick, how's it going? Fine, why? Just checking in. Henderson mentioned you guys have a house guest? Dave was my closest friend in the neighborhood, and I could tell he was concerned. Anna's helping out an old friend who's going through a rough patch. Old friend? High school boyfriend. Dave raised his eyebrows. Her ex is living with you guys? Temporarily. How temporarily? Good question. Dave looked around to make sure we weren't being overheard. Rick, that's a really bad idea. Tell me something I don't know. Want some advice? Shoot. Set a deadline. Make it clear this is short-term and stick to it. I've seen this kind of thing before. It never ends well. That night, I tried to have a serious conversation with Anna about setting boundaries and timelines, but she shut me down before I could get started. I'm not going to put a timer on helping someone in need, she said. Tony is working hard to get back on his feet, and I'm not going to add pressure by giving him ultimatums. Anna, he's been here 3 weeks and hasn't applied for a single job. How do you know that? Because he's here all day, every day. When exactly is he job hunting? He's doing online research, networking, making contacts. Not everyone looks for work the same way you do. What contacts? What networking? I don't interrogate him about every detail of his day, Rick. I trust him to handle his own affairs. But she didn't trust me to handle mine, apparently, because the next day I discovered that Tony had completely rearranged my office to better accommodate his needs. My client files had been moved to make room for his gaming setup, and my desk chair had been replaced with some expensive-looking ergonomic thing that Tony claimed was better for his back. Anna said you wouldn't mind, Tony explained when I found him in there. I spend a lot of time in here working, and I was getting some serious back pain from that old chair. Where's my chair? I put it in the garage. Figured you could use it if you ever needed to work in here. If I ever needed to work in my own office. That weekend, Anna suggested we all go out to dinner together as a family. I was hoping this meant Tony would be excluded, but apparently he was now part of the family. At the restaurant, Tony insisted on paying, pulling out a credit card like money was no object. For someone who was supposedly broke and homeless 3 weeks ago, he seemed to have plenty of cash for expensive dinners and gym equipment. During dinner, Anna and Tony dominated the conversation, reminiscing about high school and sharing inside jokes that the rest of us weren't part of. Molly kept shooting me looks that said, "Are you seeing this?" "Remember that time we snuck out to go to that concert?" Anna said, laughing. "I was so scared we'd get caught." "Worth it, though," Tony replied. "Best night of high school." "I thought prom was the best night of high school," I said. Anna looked confused for a moment. "Oh, right. Prom was nice, too." Nice. My wife had just described our prom, the night she told me she loved me for the first time, as nice, while calling a concert with her ex-boyfriend the best night of high school. After dinner, Tony suggested we all go to the new ice cream place downtown. The kids were excited, and Anna thought it was a wonderful idea, so we all piled into my car with Tony riding shotgun while I was relegated to driving everyone around like a chauffeur. At the ice cream shop, Tony again insisted on paying, and Anna let him, even though she knew I preferred to handle family expenses myself. They stood close together while ordering, and I noticed Anna touching Tony's arm while they talked. "Dad," Jacob said quietly, "why is Mom acting so weird?" "What do you mean?" "She keeps laughing at everything Tony says, even when it's not funny, and she's being all touchy." My 13-year-old son was noticing the same things I was. That night, after the kids went to bed, Anna and Tony sat on our back porch talking while I cleaned up the kitchen. Through the window, I could see them sitting close together on the porch swing, Anna's head thrown back in laughter at something Tony was saying. They stayed out there for 2 hours. When Anna finally came to bed, she smelled like Tony's cologne. "Have a nice talk?" I asked. "Tony's got such interesting stories. He's lived such an adventurous life. Unlike your boring husband." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Anna rolled over without responding, and I lay there in the dark, wondering when I'd become invisible in my own marriage. The next morning, I woke up to find Anna already gone from bed. I could hear voices and laughter coming from downstairs. Anna and Tony making breakfast together again. This had become their morning routine, and I was clearly not invited to participate. When I got to the kitchen, I found them cooking together with an intimacy that made my chest tight. Anna was wearing a robe that was shorter than what she usually wore around the house, and Tony was in gym shorts and a tank top that showed off his muscled arms and chest. "Morning, Rick," Anna said without looking at me. "We made French toast." "We," I repeated. "Tony's recipe," she added, smiling at him. "It's amazing." I ate breakfast in silence while Anna and Tony chatted about their plans for the day. Apparently, Tony was going to help Anna plant flowers in the front yard, another project I'd been meaning to get to, but hadn't had time for. "That's nice," I said. "I was planning to do that this weekend." "Well, now you don't have to," Anna replied. "Tony offered to help, and he knows a lot about landscaping." "Of course he did." When I left for work, Anna and Tony were already outside, kneeling in the flower bed together, Anna laughing at something Tony was saying. Mrs. Henderson was watching from her yard, and I could practically see the gossip wheels turning in her head. That afternoon, I got a call from my friend Dave. "Rick, we need to talk." "What's up?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me for a beer after work?" I met Dave at our usual sports bar, and he didn't waste time getting to the point. "The whole neighborhood is talking about Anna and her house guest." My stomach dropped. "What are they saying?" "That she's got her boyfriend living with you guys. That you're either the most understanding husband in the world or completely clueless." "It's not like that." Dave gave me a look. "Rick, I drove by your house today. They were planting flowers together, laughing and carrying on like newlyweds. Anna was dressed like she was going on a date, not doing yard work. She was just... And Henderson told my wife that this Tony guy has been answering your door like he lives there. Said Anna introduced him as my dear friend Tony and was hanging all over him." I felt sick. "Rick, you're my friend, so I'm going to be straight with you. Whatever's going on at your house, it doesn't look good. And if the neighbors are talking, you can bet Anna's friends and co-workers are talking too." I went home that night dreading what I might find. Anna and Tony were in the living room watching a movie, sitting closer together on the couch than any married woman should sit with a house guest. Anna had changed into yoga pants and a fitted top, and her legs were tucked up under her in a way that made the yoga pants ride up. "How was work?" Anna asked, not taking her eyes off the TV. "Fine. How was your day?" "Wonderful. Tony and I got so much done in the garden. He's got such a good eye for design." "I'm sure he does." I sat down in my recliner and tried to focus on the movie, but I kept noticing the way Anna and Tony interacted. She kept glancing at him during the funny parts to see his reaction. When he laughed, she laughed harder. When he made comments about the movie, she agreed enthusiastically, even when his opinions contradicted things she'd said about other movies. During a commercial break, Tony stretched and his shirt rode up, exposing his abs. Anna's eyes went straight there, and she didn't look away until Tony caught her staring. Then they shared a look that made my blood boil. "I think I'll head to bed," I announced. "Already?" Anna seemed surprised. "The movie's not over. I'm tired." "Okay, I'll be up in a little while." But she wasn't. I lay in bed listening to them talk and laugh downstairs until well past midnight. When Anna finally came to bed, she slipped in quietly like she was trying not to wake me. "How was the rest of the movie?" I asked. She jumped, apparently not realizing I was still awake. "Oh, it was good. Tony has such interesting insights about films." "I'm sure he does." Anna was quiet for a moment. "Rick, are you okay? You seem tense lately." "I'm fine." "Are you sure? Because if something's bothering you..." "I'm fine, Anna." But I wasn't fine. I was watching my wife fall for another man right in front of me, and there didn't seem to be anything I could do about it. The next morning brought a new low. I walked into the master bathroom to find Tony's cologne sitting on my sink counter, right next to my aftershave. His toothbrush was in the holder next to mine, and there was a second razor in my shower caddy. "Anna," I called out, holding up the cologne bottle. "Why is Tony's stuff in our bathroom?" Anna appeared in the doorway, looking flustered. "Oh, that. The guest bathroom sink is running slow, so I told him he could use ours until you have a chance to fix it." "When did the guest bathroom sink start running slow?" "A few days ago. I mentioned it to you, but you've been so busy with work." She hadn't mentioned it to me, and I would have remembered. But somehow, this was my fault too. "I'll look at it tonight," I said. "Don't worry about it. Tony said he knows how to fix it. He's going to take care of it this afternoon." Of course he was. That evening, I came home to find Tony had indeed fixed the guest bathroom sink. He'd also installed a new shower head in the guest bathroom, organized the linen closet, and somehow managed to rearrange the guest room to make it look more like a permanent bedroom, and less like a temporary crash pad. "Tony's so handy," Anna gushed over dinner. "He fixed everything in just a few hours." "Great," I said. "So his stuff can go back to the guest bathroom now." Anna and Tony exchanged a look. "Actually," Anna said, "the guest bathroom is pretty small, and since Tony's been getting up early to work out, it might be easier if he just keeps using ours so he doesn't wake anyone up walking around upstairs." I stared at my wife. She was asking me to share my bathroom with her ex-boyfriend so he wouldn't wake us up with his footsteps, but somehow his shower running at 5 in the morning wasn't going to wake us up. "I don't think that's appropriate," I said. "Why not?" Anna's voice had that defensive edge again. "It's just a bathroom. It's our bathroom, our private space." "Rick, you're being ridiculous. It's not like he's moving into our bedroom." Tony held up his hands. "Hey, I don't want to cause any problems. I can use the guest bathroom." "No," Anna said firmly. "You shouldn't have to squeeze into that tiny space just because Rick is being territorial about a bathroom." Territorial. About my own bathroom. In my own house. "Fine," I said. "Whatever." But it wasn't fine, and we all knew it. That night, as I lay in bed listening to Tony shower in our bathroom, I realized I was losing my wife, and I didn't know how to stop it. I couldn't take it anymore. After a month of watching Tony make himself at home and Anna act like a lovesick teenager, I decided I needed proof of what was really going on. Dave had a friend who worked in security, and he helped me set up some discreet cameras around the house. Nothing illegal, just basic nanny cams in the common areas. "You sure you want to do this?" Dave asked as we installed a small camera in the living room. "Sometimes it's better not to know." "I need to know," I said. "I'm going crazy wondering if I'm imagining things." "You're not imagining anything, but having proof might make things worse before they get better." He was right about that. The first few days of footage were just normal household activity, but on Thursday afternoon, while I was at work and the kids were at school, I got the evidence I was looking for and dreading. The kitchen camera caught Anna and Tony making lunch together. Nothing unusual there, except for the way Anna kept finding excuses to touch him. She'd brush against him, reaching for something, put her hand on his arm while talking, even playfully bump him with her hip when he made a joke. But it was what happened next that made my blood run cold. Tony was washing dishes when Anna came up behind him and started massaging his shoulders. He leaned back into her touch, and she leaned down to whisper something in his ear that made him laugh. Then he turned around, and they were standing face to face, inches apart. For a moment, I thought they were going to kiss. Instead, Anna stepped back, but the look that passed between them was unmistakable. This wasn't friendship. This wasn't even just flirtation. This was two people who were falling for each other hard. That evening, I confronted Anna with what I'd seen. "You were massaging him?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Anna's face flushed. "He said his shoulders were sore from all the yard work he's been doing. I was just being nice." "Anna, you were all over him. The touching, the whispering, the way you two were looking at each other. I don't know what you think you saw. I know what I saw, and so would anyone else who watched that footage." Anna went very still. "Footage?" I realized I'd just admitted to recording her, but I was too angry to care. "I installed cameras." "You what?" Anna's voice was deadly quiet. "I installed cameras in the common areas of our house." "You've been spying on me?" "I've been trying to figure out what's going on in my own home because my wife has been acting like she's having an affair." "I am not having an affair." "Then what do you call what I saw today?" "I call it being kind to a friend who's going through a difficult time." "Anna, you were massaging your ex-boyfriend's shoulders and whispering in his ear while your husband was at work. How is that appropriate?" Anna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was shaky. "Maybe it wasn't completely appropriate, but it wasn't what you're making it sound like." "What was it then?" I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what's happening to me. Finally, some honesty. Anna, you need to ask him to leave. I can't do that. Why not? Because, she struggled for words, because I don't want him to leave. There it was, the truth I'd been dreading. Anna, you're married, to me. We have children together. I know that, she snapped. Don't you think I know that? Then why are you doing this? I'm not doing anything, I'm confused, okay? Tony brings out feelings I thought I'd forgotten about. He makes me feel young and exciting and beautiful. And I don't? Anna's silence was answer enough. So what now? I asked. You want a divorce so you can be with Tony? I don't know what I want, Anna said, tears starting to fall. I love you, Rick. I love our family. But when I'm with Tony, I feel like the person I used to be before I became someone's wife and someone's mother. You mean you feel like the person you were before you had responsibilities? That's not fair. Isn't it? Anna, you've been neglecting our marriage and our children to play house with your high school boyfriend. Molly and Jacob see what's going on. The neighbors see it. Everyone can see it except you. I haven't been neglecting anyone. When's the last time you and I went out together, just the two of us? When's the last time you showed me half the attention you show Tony? Anna didn't answer. I want him gone, I said. Tomorrow. Rick. Tomorrow, Anna. Or I'm filing for divorce. Anna stared at me through her tears. You'd really do that? You'd break up our family over this? I'm not the one breaking up our family. The next morning, I waited to see if Anna would follow through. I heard them talking in the kitchen, Anna's voice tearful and Tony's voice getting progressively angrier. He's making you choose? Tony was saying. Anna, that's emotional manipulation. He's my husband, Tony. I can't blame him for being upset. You're not happy with him. You haven't been happy for years. You told me so yourself. My wife had been discussing our marriage with her ex-boyfriend. The betrayal cut deep. That doesn't mean I want to throw away 18 years of marriage. What about what we have? What about how you feel when we're together? Tony, please don't make this harder than it already is. I'm not going anywhere, Anna. If he wants me gone, he's going to have to throw me out himself. That's when I walked into the kitchen. No problem, I said. Pack your stuff. You've got 1 hour. Tony turned to face me, and for the first time since he'd been here, his charming mask slipped. You can't kick me out. I have tenant rights. You're not a tenant. You're a guest who's overstayed his welcome. I've been paying rent. No, you haven't. You've bought some groceries and paid for a few dinners. That doesn't make you a tenant. Anna invited me to stay here. And now I'm uninviting you. Tony looked at Anna. Are you going to let him do this? Anna was crying openly now. Tony, maybe it's for the best. We both need time to think. I don't need time to think. I know what I want. Tony stepped closer to Anna. I want you. I've always wanted you. These past few weeks have just reminded me why I fell in love with you in the first place. Tony, he cupped her face in his hands. Come with me, Anna. We can start over somewhere new. Just the two of us, like it should have been 20 years ago. I watched my wife's face as Tony made his pitch, and for a terrifying moment, I thought she might actually say yes. Instead, she stepped back. I can't. The kids will be fine. They'll understand eventually. No, Anna said firmly. I won't abandon my children. Tony's expression hardened. So you'll abandon me instead. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm trying to do the right thing. The right thing would have been to leave him years ago instead of settling for a boring life with a boring man. That's when I lost it. Get out, I said, stepping toward Tony. Get out of my house right now. Or what? Tony squared his shoulders, and I realized he was bigger than me and probably stronger. You'll make me? If I have to. We stood there facing each other for a moment, and I could see Tony calculating whether he could take me in a fight. Apparently, he decided he could. You know what your problem is, Rick? You're weak. Anna needs a real man, not some computer nerd who can't even satisfy his own wife. I punched him. I'm not proud of it, but I punched Tony Russo right in his perfect face, and it felt amazing. Tony staggered back, blood streaming from his nose, and for a moment he looked shocked that I'd actually hit him. "You bastard," he snarled, and came at me. What followed was not a graceful fight scene from a movie. It was two middle-aged men rolling around on my kitchen floor, throwing wild punches and trying not to get killed. Tony was stronger, but I was angrier, and anger gave me an edge. Anna was screaming at us to stop, but neither of us was listening. I managed to get Tony in a headlock, and he elbowed me in the ribs hard enough to make me see stars. The fight might have gone on longer, but Molly chose that moment to come downstairs for breakfast. "What the hell?" she shouted, and we both froze. I was sitting on Tony's back with my arm around his throat. Tony had a bloody nose and a rapidly swelling eye. Anna was crying hysterically, and my 16-year-old daughter was staring at all of us like we'd lost our minds. "Dad?" Molly said. "What's going on?" "Tony's leaving," I said, getting off him. "Right now." Tony got to his feet slowly, wiping blood from his nose. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is," I replied. "You've got 30 minutes to get your stuff and get out. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police." Tony looked at Anna one more time. "Last chance, Anna. Come with me." Anna shook her head, still crying. "Fine," Tony said. "But don't come crying to me when you realize what a mistake you're making." He went upstairs to pack, and I sent Molly to get ready for school like nothing had happened. Anna and I stood in the kitchen, not looking at each other. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For which part?" "All of it. Everything. I never meant for it to go this far." "How far did it go, Anna? I need to know." We didn't." She couldn't finish the sentence. "But you wanted to." Anna's silence was answer enough. 20 minutes later, Tony came downstairs with his bags. He looked at Anna one more time, but she wouldn't meet his eyes. "You're making a huge mistake," he said to her. "But I guess you'll figure that out eventually." He walked out the door, and I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That evening, after the kids went to bed, Anna and I had the conversation I'd been dreading. "I think we need some time apart," she said. "Anna, I need to figure out what I want, who I am. I can't do that with you watching my every move and analyzing everything I do. I installed those cameras because you were having an emotional affair with your ex-boyfriend in our house. I know, and I understand why you did it, but I also understand that our marriage has problems that go deeper than Tony. Such as, we've grown apart, Rick. We're like roommates who share expenses and childcare duties. When's the last time we really talked? When's the last time we laughed together or did something spontaneous? When's the last time you gave me a chance to? You've been so busy playing house with Tony that you haven't had time for your actual husband. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Anna, you've spent the last month treating me like I was invisible while you flirted with another man in front of our children." Anna was crying again. "I know I handled this badly. I know I hurt you. But that doesn't change the fact that we have real problems. Problems we could work on if you wanted to. I do want to, but I need some space to figure out what I really want." "And what if what you really want is Tony?" "I don't know. He's gone, Anna. He made it clear he's not interested in anything complicated. He wanted you to abandon your children and run away with him, and when you wouldn't do that, he left." "I know. So what are you hoping to figure out? Whether I want to save our marriage or end it?" The words hit me like a physical blow. "You're thinking about divorce." "I don't know what I'm thinking. That's why I need time." I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and realized I didn't recognize the person sitting across from me, The Anna I'd married would never have let another man move into our house. She would never have carried on an emotional affair in front of our children. She would never have told me she needed time to decide if she wanted to stay married. Fine, I said. Take all the time you need, but while you're figuring out what you want, I'll be figuring out what I want too. Anna nodded. That's fair. But nothing about this situation was fair, and we both knew it. The next morning, Anna moved into the guest room. She said it was temporary, just until she figured things out, but it felt permanent. She was polite but distant, treating me like a stranger she happened to live with. The kids knew something was wrong, but they didn't know the full extent of it. Molly had seen the fight, but she didn't know about the cameras or the conversations Anna and I had been having. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" she asked me one evening. "I don't know, sweetheart. We're working through some problems." "Problems caused by that Tony guy?" "Partly." "I never liked him," Molly said. "He was trying too hard to be cool, and he looked at Mom weird." "Weird how?" "Like he wanted to eat her." My 16-year-old daughter had better instincts than her mother. A week passed. Anna and I barely spoke, except about logistics: who was picking up the kids, who was cooking dinner, who was handling various household tasks. We were polite strangers sharing a house. I thought maybe the space would help Anna realize what she was throwing away. Instead, she seemed to be pulling further away from me every day. Then Tony started texting her. I didn't know about the texts at first. Anna was being more careful with her phone, keeping it with her at all times and not leaving it lying around where I might see it. But Molly noticed. "Mom's been getting a lot of text messages lately," she mentioned casually one evening, "and she always smiles when she reads them." My heart sank. Anna was still in contact with Tony, and whatever he was saying was making her happy, in a way I hadn't seen since before he left. I confronted Anna about it that night. "Are you talking to Tony?" Anna's face flushed. "He's texted a few times." "About what?" "Just checking in, making sure I'm okay." "Anna, the man tried to convince you to abandon your children and run away with him. Why are you still talking to him?" "Because he cares about me. He cares about getting you into bed. There's a difference." "You don't know him." "I know enough. Anna, he's manipulating you. He's staying in contact to keep you confused and conflicted so you won't work on our marriage." Maybe I don't want to work on our marriage. There it was, the truth I'd been avoiding. "Then why are we pretending?" I asked. "If you've already decided you want out, just say so." "I haven't decided anything. That's the problem. I can't decide." "What's there to decide? You have a choice between your husband and father of your children or a convicted felon who's been living off your charity. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. But for Anna, apparently it wasn't. 2 weeks after Tony left, Anna announced that she wanted to go visit her sister in Phoenix for a long weekend. She said she needed to get away and think. I knew she was lying. Anna's sister lived in Denver, not Phoenix, and I was pretty sure I knew who was really in Phoenix. "Have a good trip," I said. Anna looked surprised that I wasn't going to fight her on it. "You're okay with this?" "Anna, you're a grown woman. If you want to go to Phoenix to see Tony, that's your choice." "I'm not." "Don't lie to me anymore. Please, we're past that." Anna left on Friday morning, and I spent the weekend with the kids trying to pretend everything was normal. But inside, I was dying. My wife was off with another man, probably sleeping with him, and there wasn't anything I could do about it. When Anna came back on Sunday night, she looked different, guilty, but also more resolved. "We need to talk," she said. "I'm sure we do." We sat down in the living room and Anna took a deep breath. "I want a divorce," she said. Even though I'd been expecting it, the words still hit like a punch to the gut. "Because of Tony?" "Because of me. Because I'm not happy, and I haven't been happy for a long time." Tony just helped me realize that. So you're leaving me for him. I'm leaving you for me. But you'll end up with him. Anna didn't deny it. What about the kids? We'll work out custody. I want them to stay in the house, in their schools. I'll find an apartment nearby. Very generous of you. Rick, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder than it has to be? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Anna, you're destroying our family for a guy you hadn't seen in 20 years until 2 months ago. How exactly am I making this hard? By not trying to understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. You got bored with your boring husband and your boring life, so you decided to blow it all up for some excitement. That's not... It's exactly what happened, and now you want me to be understanding about it. Anna was crying, but I was beyond caring about her tears. I'll file the paperwork this week, I said. You can have your divorce, but don't expect me to make it easy for you. What does that mean? It means I'm not going to roll over and let you take half of everything I've worked for so you can start a new life with your boyfriend. If you want out, fine. But you're not taking me to the cleaners in the process. Anna's face went pale. Rick, please, we can work this out amicably. Amicably? Anna, there's nothing amicable about what you've done. You had an affair, you're abandoning our marriage, and now you want to be rewarded for it financially. That's not how this works. I never had an affair. We never slept together while I was still married. Congratulations on that technicality. I'm sure it'll be very comforting during the divorce proceedings. I walked out of the room, leaving Anna crying on the couch. The war was about to begin. The next morning, I did something I should have done weeks ago. I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but Sarah Mitchell, the most ruthless divorce attorney in town. She had a reputation for destroying cheating spouses, and that's exactly what I needed. Mr. Mallard, Sarah said when I walked into her office, tell me everything. I told her about Tony moving in, about the emotional affair, about the cameras, about Anna's weekend trip to Phoenix, about everything. Sarah took notes and asked pointed questions. Do you still have the camera footage? Yes. Good. That'll be useful. What about financial records? Any suspicious spending? She's been buying new clothes, going out more, spending money on things she never cared about before. We'll subpoena the credit card records. What about her phone records? I don't have access to those. We'll get them. Trust me, Mr. Mallard. By the time I'm done, we'll know everything about your wife's relationship with this Tony character. What are my chances of getting primary custody of the kids? With evidence of her affair and abandonment of family responsibilities? Very good, especially if the children express a preference to stay with you. That evening, I sat down with Molly and Jacob and had one of the hardest conversations of my life. Your mother and I are getting divorced, I said. Molly wasn't surprised. Because of Tony? Because your mother isn't happy being married to me anymore. That's stupid, Jacob said. You're a good dad. Thank you, buddy. But sometimes grown-ups just can't make their marriages work, no matter how hard they try. Where will we live? Molly asked. Right here. This is your home, and I'm not going anywhere. Your mom will probably get an apartment nearby so you can spend time with her, too. Will Tony be there? Jacob's voice was small. I don't know. Maybe. I don't want to stay with Tony, Jacob said firmly. He's weird. You won't have to do anything you're not comfortable with, I promised. Over the next few days, Anna and I worked out the logistics of separating our lives while still living in the same house. It was awkward and painful, but we managed to be civil for the kids' sake. Anna found a furnished apartment across town and started moving her things out gradually. She was trying to be discreet about it, but I noticed that she was taking more than just her personal belongings. Family photos, decorative items, even some furniture that we'd bought together. The dining room table? I asked when I came home to find it missing. I need furniture for my apartment, Anna said defensively. That table was a wedding gift from my parents. We can work out who gets what later. No, we can work it out now. Put the table back. Rick. Put it back, Anna. You don't get to steal furniture while you're abandoning our marriage. Anna's face flushed with anger. I'm not stealing anything. I'm taking things I have a right to. You have a right to half of our marital assets, which will be determined by the court. You don't have a right to just take whatever you want. Fine, Anna snapped. I'll bring the table back. And the photo albums, and my grandmother's china, and anything else you've taken that wasn't specifically yours before we got married. Anna glared at me, but didn't argue further. That weekend, while Anna was at her apartment, I decided to do some investigating of my own. I went through her remaining belongings, looking for anything that might be useful in the divorce proceedings. In her jewelry box, I found something interesting, a new necklace I'd never seen before. It was expensive, definitely not something Anna would have bought for herself. The inscription on the back read, "To my soulmate, forever yours, T." Tony had given my wife jewelry and called her his soulmate. I took pictures of the necklace and added it to the evidence file Sarah was building. I also found Anna's old diary from when Tony first moved in. She'd been documenting her feelings, her confusion, her growing attraction to him. Reading it was like getting punched in the stomach repeatedly, but it was also valuable evidence of the emotional affair. I know I shouldn't feel this way, one entry read, but when Tony looks at me, I feel beautiful and desired in a way I haven't felt in years. Rick is a good man, but he's become predictable. Tony makes me feel alive. Another entry was even more damaging. Tony kissed me today while Rick was at work. I know I should feel guilty, but all I feel is excited. I haven't felt this kind of passion since I was 18. So much for never having an affair. I photographed every relevant page and added them to Sarah's file. Monday morning, Anna got served with divorce papers at her work. I'd specifically requested that they be delivered there, in front of her colleagues, because I wanted everyone to know that she was the one who'd destroyed our marriage. Anna called me that afternoon, furious. You had me served at work? In front of everyone? Is there a problem with that? It was humiliating, Rick. Everyone's asking questions. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair. I told you I found your diary, Anna. I know about the kiss. I know about the necklace. I know about everything. Anna was quiet for a long moment. You went through my things. You're lucky that's all I did. Rick, please, can't we handle this privately? Do you have to make it so public? You made it public when you moved your boyfriend into our house and carried on with him in front of the neighbors. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth about why our marriage ended. That evening, Anna came to the house to talk to the kids about the divorce. She tried to present it as a mutual decision, but Molly wasn't buying it. So, you're leaving Dad for Tony? Molly asked bluntly. It's not that simple, sweetheart. It sounds pretty simple to me. You like Tony better than Dad, so you're getting divorced. I'm not leaving your father for anyone. I'm leaving because we're not happy together anymore. Dad seems happy, Jacob said. You're the one who's not happy. Anna looked frustrated. Sometimes adults grow apart, and it's better for everyone if they stop trying to force something that isn't working. But you weren't trying to fix anything, Molly said. You were too busy flirting with Tony to work on your marriage with Dad. Molly, I saw you, Mom. We all saw you. You were acting like Tony was your boyfriend instead of Dad. Anna started crying, but the kids weren't moved by her tears the way they used to be. Are you going to live with Tony now? Jacob asked. I don't know. Maybe eventually. Then you are leaving Dad for Tony, Molly said. Just be honest about it. After Anna left, Molly came to find me in my office. Dad, I want to live with you full time. Sweetheart, you should spend time with your mother too. Why? So I can watch her play house with her boyfriend? No thanks. Molly, Dad, she made her choice. She chose Tony over our family. I don't have to pretend that's okay. Jacob felt the same way. When the custody evaluator came to interview the kids, they both expressed a strong preference to live with me primarily and only see their mother on weekends. She doesn't care about us anymore, Jacob told the evaluator. She only cares about Tony. Meanwhile, Sarah was building a case that would destroy Anna financially. The camera footage, the diary entries, the evidence of her affair, the testimony from the kids, it was all adding up to a picture of a woman who'd abandoned her family for another man. We're going to ask for primary custody, the house, and minimal alimony, Sarah told me. Given her affair and abandonment, I think we have a strong case. What about her lawyer? She hired Jim Peterson. He's competent but not aggressive. He'll probably try to negotiate a settlement rather than go to trial. Sarah was right. 2 weeks later, Anna's lawyer called to discuss a settlement. My client is willing to accept joint custody and a 50-50 split of assets, he said. Your client can want whatever she likes, Sarah replied. We're asking for primary custody, the house, and she can keep her retirement account. That's our offer. That's completely unreasonable. Your client had an affair and abandoned her family. I think our terms are very reasonable considering the circumstances. The negotiations went back and forth for weeks, with Anna's lawyer trying to minimize the affair and Sarah presenting evidence that made Anna look like an unfit mother. During this time, Anna was spending more and more time with Tony. The kids would come back from their court-ordered visits with her full of stories about Tony being at her apartment, cooking dinner, acting like he lived there. He's gross, Molly reported after one visit. He walks around in his underwear and acts like he owns the place. And he keeps trying to be our friend, Jacob added, like we're going to forget that he broke up our family. The final straw came when Anna brought Tony to Jacob's baseball game. They sat together in the stands like a couple, cheering and holding hands, while I sat alone on the other side of the bleachers. After the game, Jacob ran straight to me, ignoring Anna and Tony completely. Did you see my home run, Dad? I saw it, buddy. Great hit. Anna approached us, Tony trailing behind her. Jacob, didn't you want to show Tony your trophy from last season? No, Jacob said flatly. I don't want to show him anything. Jacob, Mom, I don't like him. I don't want him at my games. Anna looked hurt, but Tony just looked annoyed. Kid's got an attitude problem, he muttered. That's when I lost my temper. Don't you ever talk about my son that way, I said, stepping toward Tony. Your son needs to learn some respect, Tony replied, not backing down. The only thing my son needs to learn is how to spot a loser who breaks up families. Tony's face darkened. You want to do this here? In front of everyone? I want you to stay away from my children. They're Anna's children too, and if she wants me around them, she can want whatever she likes. But if you ever speak to or about my kids that way again, you and I are going to have a problem. We already have a problem, Tony said, stepping closer. For a moment, I thought we were going to have another fight right there in the Little League parking lot. Instead, Anna grabbed Tony's arm and pulled him away. Let's just go, she said. This isn't worth it. As they walked away, I heard Tony say, Your ex-husband is a psycho, Anna. You need to get full custody of those kids before he turns them against you completely. It was too late for that. The kids had already made their choice. A week later, Sarah called with good news. Anna's lawyer wants to settle. She'll accept primary custody to you. She keeps her apartment and her car, and you keep the house and everything in it. No alimony either way. What changed? I think her lawyer finally convinced her that going to trial would be a disaster. The evidence we have would destroy her in court. And the kids? Primary custody to you, with Anna getting them every other weekend and one evening a week. Standard visitation. It was better than I'd hoped for. There's one more thing, Sarah said. Anna wants to keep some of the family photos and personal items. Fine, but I want something in return. What? I want a clause in the divorce decree that prohibits either of us from having overnight guests when the children are present. Sarah laughed. You want to prevent her from having Tony sleep over when the kids are there? Exactly. I'll see what I can do. 2 days later, Anna signed the settlement agreement. She got to keep her photos and some personal items, but she also agreed to the morality clause that would prevent Tony from spending the night when the kids were visiting. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in November, exactly 6 months after Tony had first moved into our house. Anna cried during the proceedings, but I felt nothing but relief. It was over. After the hearing, Anna approached me in the courthouse hallway. Rick, I'm sorry. For everything. I never meant for it to happen this way. But you're not sorry it happened. Anna was quiet for a moment. No, I'm not sorry I found Tony again. I'm just sorry I hurt you and the kids in the process. At least you're finally being honest. Can we try to be friends, for the kids' sake? We can be civil, but we'll never be friends, Anna. Friends don't do what you did to me. Anna nodded and walked away, and I realized I felt nothing watching her go. No sadness, no regret, no love. She'd killed all of that with her choices. That evening, I sat down with Molly and Jacob and told them the divorce was final. So Mom's really not coming back? Jacob asked. Nobody, she's not. Good, Molly said. We're better off without her and Tony. I wasn't sure that was true, but I was sure we were going to find out. The next few months were an adjustment. The kids visited Anna every other weekend, but they never seemed happy about it. They complained about Tony constantly, how he tried too hard to be their friend, how he acted like he was their stepfather, how uncomfortable he made them feel. He keeps trying to give us advice about stuff, Molly reported after one visit. Like he has any right to tell us anything. And he eats all the good food, Jacob added. Mom buys stuff for us, and Tony eats it before we get there. Anna called me several times to complain that the kids weren't giving Tony a chance, but I refused to get involved. That's between you and them, I told her. You made your choice. Now, you get to live with the consequences. Rick, please, can't you talk to them? Tell them to be more open-minded? Anna, they're not required to like your boyfriend. If Tony can't handle being around children who don't worship him, maybe he's not the right guy for you. He's trying his best. His best isn't good enough. By spring, the kids were asking if they could skip some of their visits with Anna. They had friends they wanted to spend time with, activities they didn't want to miss, and they were tired of being stuck in Anna's small apartment with Tony. I let them make their own decisions about the visits, which meant they saw Anna less and less frequently. Anna wasn't happy about this development. You're turning them against me, she accused during one of our brief conversations. I'm not turning them against anyone. I'm letting them decide how they want to spend their time. They're children. They can't make those decisions. They're old enough to know who they want to be around and who they don't. This is about Tony, isn't it? You've poisoned them against him. Anna, I've never said a negative word about Tony to the kids. I don't need to. They can see for themselves what kind of person he is. What's that supposed to mean? It means your children are smart enough to recognize that Tony is a selfish man who broke up their family because he wanted their mother. They don't have to like him, and they don't have to pretend he's a good guy. Anna hung up on me, but I didn't care. I was done protecting her feelings. A year after our divorce was finalized, I heard through mutual friends that Anna and Tony's relationship was having problems. Apparently, Tony wasn't as interested in playing house when it involved dealing with children who didn't like him and an ex-wife who couldn't afford to support him in the lifestyle he wanted. He's been pressuring Anna to move somewhere warmer, Dave told me over beers one evening. Says he's tired of the winters here. What does Anna say? She won't go. Says she can't move away from the kids. Good for her. Tony's not happy about it. Word is he's been looking at other options. Other options. Meaning other women. I wasn't surprised when Anna called me crying 6 months later. Tony left, she sobbed into the phone. He said he couldn't do this anymore. The kids, the cold weather, the small-town life. He said it wasn't what he wanted. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. Not because I felt bad for Anna, but because I felt bad for my children, who would have to watch their mother fall apart over a man who'd never deserved her. "I don't know what to do, Rick. I gave up everything for him." "You gave up everything for the idea of him. You fell in love with a fantasy." "He said he loved me. He loved the idea of you taking care of him. When that stopped being convenient, he moved on." Anna was quiet for a long moment. "I made a terrible mistake, didn't I?" "Yes, you did. Is there any chance? Could we ever—" "No, Anna, we're done. We were done the day you chose him over our family. But if I've learned from this—" "Anna, stop. Just stop. You made your choice. You chose excitement over stability, passion over partnership, and a fantasy over reality. Now you get to live with the consequences." "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss our family. You should have thought about that before you threw it away." I hung up the phone and realized I felt nothing but pity for the woman who used to be my wife. 6 months later, Anna moved to Florida. She said she needed a fresh start, somewhere without memories of Tony or our failed marriage. The kids were upset about her moving so far away, but they weren't surprised. "Mom always runs away when things get hard," Molly observed. "She ran away from you with Tony, and now she's running away from Tony with Florida." That's a pretty harsh way to put it. But it's true, isn't it? I couldn't argue with that. Anna calls the kids every week and visits twice a year, but she's essentially a stranger to them now. They're polite when they talk to her, but there's no real connection anymore. She broke that when she chose Tony over them, and some things can't be repaired. As for me, I'm doing better than I ever imagined I would. The house is peaceful without the constant drama Anna brought to our lives. The kids and I have developed our own routines and traditions. We're closer now than we ever were when Anna was around. I've even started dating again, though I'm taking it slow. I'm not ready to trust someone with my heart or my children's stability, but I'm open to the possibility that someday I might find someone who values family the way I do. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd handled things differently. If I'd been more understanding, more willing to fight for our marriage, more something. But then I remember the look in Anna's eyes when Tony asked her to run away with him, and I realized there was nothing I could have done. She'd already left our marriage emotionally long before she left it legally. The kids are thriving. Jacob made the high school baseball team and is talking about trying for a college scholarship. Molly is taking advanced placement classes and has been accepted to 3 universities already. They're strong, resilient kids who learned early that actions have consequences and that sometimes the people you love make choices that hurt you. It's a hard lesson, but it's made them more independent and self-reliant than most kids their age. As for Tony, I heard he moved to Las Vegas and is working as a personal trainer at a casino. Apparently, he's found a new woman to take care of him. Some divorced real estate agent with money and no children. I hope she's smarter than Anna was, but I doubt it. Men like Tony are experts at finding women who are vulnerable and lonely, women who mistake attention for love and charm for character. Anna learned that lesson the hard way, but at least she learned it. Some women never do. Looking back, I realized that Tony moving into our house was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because it was pleasant, it was hell, but because it showed me who Anna really was underneath the facade of the devoted wife and mother. She was someone who could be swayed by a pretty face and smooth talk. Someone who could put her own desires ahead of her children's needs. Someone who could throw away 18 years of marriage for a few weeks of excitement. I deserved better than that. My children deserved better than that. And now we have better. We have a life built on honesty and loyalty and genuine love, not the performance of love that Anna had been giving us for years. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. This was one of those times.